How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Yell and a Cell Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Zachary Weinberger, here with JP Acosta. First of all, JP, how's it going?
It's going great, man. I'm excited to get back with you, talk some more wrestling. We got a pretty packed week this week, packed episode, definitely. But it was a Fastlane had its highs and lows. That's all we'll say for now.
Oh, yeah. So just like JP mentioned, yesterday was Fastlane 2021, the last stop, as you could say, until we get to WrestleMania, which is only about 19, 20 days away so far. So we're fastly approaching the grandest stage of them all. But first, we have to talk about Fastlane, and we're going to do something a little different now with these episodes. So especially for this week, pretty much only this week, we're going to be talking about Fastlane. We didn't do a weekend review this past week just because of all the stuff that happened besides wrestling in our lives. So we're just going to throughout the Fastlane card, we'll kind of recap what happened on the shows with the matches on the card, which is probably what we're going to do there. But we'll also cover Dynamite as well. So, but first of all, let's go ahead and talk about Fastlane. And just like JP said, it was a very high and low sort of show. For me, anyways, when the highs were high, it was really, really good. When it was low, it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of like whatever. So I guess that's kind of good.
Yeah.
Would you share the same thoughts, or like were there just some low points that were just like really bad for you?
The lows, they weren't exactly like, what is this? I hate that I'm watching this. This sucks kind of low. But it was kind of just like why is this like? It was meh. The low was meh, and the highs were really good. It's really like the best way I can describe it. It wasn't a colossal failure like some people thought the card was. But it had its high moments. The low moments were,
Right. So let's get to the first match of pretty much the whole card. Well, technically the whole sort of night. It was in the kickoff show of Fastlane. It was for the United States Championship. Riddle versus Mustafa Ali, getting his sort of rematch from this past Monday Raw, which is kind of the segments where we're going to be talking about last week's shows. There was a United States Championship match last week, along with a tag team championship match, the New Day and the Hurt Business, which they won, by the way. We could talk a little bit about that real quick. The New Day did capture what? They're 11-time? 11-time tag team champions for the New Day. They beat the Hurt Business. Quick thoughts on that, JP? And also, afterwards, AJ Styles and Omos challenged him at WrestleMania. Just thoughts on that real quick.
It's well-deserved for the New Day, who I still firmly believe are the greatest tag team in WWE history. I'm excited, low-key, for this WrestleMania build-up between AJ Styles and Omos. AJ was saying he's literally held every title but one, and that's the tag titles. And putting Omos' first career match in WrestleMania against the New Day, it seems like the perfect mixture of events, I don't mean to compare Omos to Nicholas, but it kind of reminds me of when Braun and Nicholas faced the Bar at WrestleMania 34, and Braun and Nicholas won. It was showcasing Omos, but it was putting them in there with two experienced vets who are really good in the ring. And you got Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, who are two of the best when it comes to tag teams. AJ Styles, one of the best in the world. I'm excited where this buildup is going, because it doesn't have to be like a blood feud or anything. It doesn't have to be super intense. It can just be built around maybe Xavier and Kofi not knowing how they're going to take down Omos, and just build it up that way. But right. I'm excited for it, see where it goes.
Same with me. Again, it was a good match, by the way, between the New Day and Hurt Business for sure. They always put up some bangers there. I really was expecting the Hurt Business to retain there, just because with Bobby as the WWE champion, I thought they would have the goal for quite a bit more. We'll see where the Hurt Business goes from here, especially when it comes to Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Again, I really like the whole Hurt Business having some sort of gold. So we'll see where that goes. And again, I'm expecting for your first match, and maybe they'll give them a little bit of a kind of a couple matches for Styles and Omos before we get to WrestleMania. But even still, one of your very first matches being at WrestleMania in front of a crowd, that's pretty big promo. So maybe they're pretty high on him. Having a guy like AJ Styles with him, and again on the opposite side, the New Day should be a good treat there. So that's good to see. Again, going back to the United States Championship match, once again, a pretty much a divide that's happening between Ali and Retribution, T-Bar, Mace, Reckoning, Slapjack. Happen again at Fastlane. Not a bad match here between Ali and Riddle. We were kind of expecting, if given time, this could be a really good match on the card. There was on the kickoff show, so they were really limited with time, but not a bad match overall. I mean, these guys, we know these two can go in the ring. However, it did end with Riddle actually winning pretty cleanly here. It wasn't anything with retribution, but afterwards we did see Riddle and Mustafa Ali sort of be mad at retribution, calling out people, and then really singled out Reckoning. Obviously, uh, you know, so he was doing that. He was kind of talking to her. He was telling her to get in line and sort of thing. And obviously, she was just kind of stood her ground and just left. Slapjack did the same, and he was very angry. He is screaming at Mace and T-Bar, and they just kind of turn on him. They do that double choke slam tag team move that they did on him, and retribution is it's over. So, JP, I gotta ask you, what did you think of the match? What did you think of the ending? I mean, retribution, the greatest faction in WWE history. What do you think of the ending?
The match itself was pretty good. It's what you'd expect from Matt Riddle and Mustafa Ali. That Bro Derek from the second rope was absolutely filthy. How they got into it was amazing. Um, as far as retribution goes, thoughts and prayers, F in the chat, because it never really got off on the right foot. It never kind of, they ended a SmackDown on Fox, and it's like, wow, this has potential to be something pretty big, but I don't think it was ever handled very properly. I thought it was made the brunt of a lot of jokes on social media, which kind of died down that hype. Dressing a bunch of 12-year-olds up and giving them chainsaws isn't exactly a great plan either. But I don't know, man. I don't know where they go from here, because I thought I wanted Mustafa Ali to win because Retribution needed to win if they're going to stay together as a faction. Clearly, they're not going to stay together. So not only where does Mustafa Ali go from here, where do all the other members go? Because, Reckoning, do they lose the mask? Do they go back to NXT? Are they still going to be on Raw? You really don't know what the plan is here. And are they going to be feuding with Mustafa Ali still? So I'm a little intrigued to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm a little intrigued and maybe a little bit worried too, because again, I mean, like you said, I mean, going back to the early stages, I guess, of Retribution, like it was a big deal, on Raw and SmackDown. Like you said, they gave him the power to end the show on a note that I thought was pretty compelling. I mean, the end of the show, they destroyed the ring. It was very realistic how like the commentators and the wrestlers were kind of running away in fear and stuff like that. I thought it was good, and there multiple members. It wasn't just what the group it was, just was. It was a lot more members, but then it got kind of concluded to those kind of 5, 6 people, and it just wasn't that great. Again, the presentation was pretty awful with the whole mask and the whole getup and everything. So it's interesting, and like someone said, I'm all for it to see maybe like T-Bar and Mace be sort of a tag team on Raw. Again, it needs that in the division. I think they could be good, whether they lose the mask and we see kind of their true selves or not. I mean, I could definitely see it. But even just interested to see where Mustafa Ali goes from here. I mean, what's going to happen? Is he going to turn back into the hacker? I doubt it. But like, he's just a lot of things that can go worry here. So we'll see. Again, not a bad match here. Riddle does retain. He's still United States champion, and hopefully JP's prediction is true. If we see Riddle and Keith Lee at WrestleMania, I'm all here. I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, that's really the hope, that we get Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee at WrestleMania. But if Keith can't go at Mania, which is slowly, I feel like it's starting to become more of a reality, that I don't think Keith is going to get that shot. Who else is going to be in there with him? Because you gotta have the U.S. title defended on one of the 2 nights at Mania. You got 20 days to build someone up, but who are you going to build up? Ricochet, maybe. I wouldn't mind seeing that match. That'd be amazing. I guess you need to find something for Matt Riddle going into Mania if Keith Lee isn't going to be available. But if he is, I feel like that's one of the easier matches you can make. Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee for the U.S. title, potentially be a banger as well.
Yeah, completely agree. And one more thing I did want to mention that coming from last week's Monday Night Raw was the sort of the Raw Women's Championship was not defended on Fastlane, but Asuka did kind of return against Shayna Baszler. A different attitude here from Asuka that I really enjoyed seeing. She was kind of the no nonsense Asuka that we'd like to see, and and she came back to do that, so that was pretty good to see as well. But let's move on to the opening match of Fastlane. It was for the SmackDown Women's Championships, a match that I think I can speak for JP here. We weren't really excited for this one, but we talked about it anyways. It was Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair fighting for the tag team titles against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax here, and pretty much the match that I pretty much expected, especially the ending. I mean, it wasn't a bad match. I'll be honest. I mean, you were never really going to get a bad match here. It was just a very unnecessary one, and obviously, with the one spot I want to say was that Bianca Belair hit an amazing 450 splash. That was awesome to see, but obviously it was interrupted when Reginald, who our favorite person, Reginald, kind of again distracted the ref like he usually does, got involved into the match, and especially kind of like pretty much like baiting Sasha Banks into sort of like kind of getting distracted and stuff like that. And but it came to a point where the boss does tag in Sasha Banks. She put the bank statement on Baszler before Jax broke it up by shoving Belair into it, and that caused a divide between Belair and Banks. Um, but then at the end, they rolled up. Banks Baszler rolled her up for the win. And then we pretty much got that ending argument between Banks and Belair to the point where uh, Banks shoved Belair in the face, and then Belair was very shocked. And then she turned around, and then Sasha Banks slapped her right across the face. So we're in that season. These two obviously are going to fight for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania, and that's how you end Fastlane. They take another loss, and yeah, pretty much Reginald is hopefully still involved. And again, so I'll start off here by saying, listen, I'm hoping that the whole thing with Reginald is just done. It seems like it might be going that way now, where it's like, okay, they did it. They're done with the SmackDown tag team titles. That's the least of their worries now, especially after Sasha slapping Bianca. So I don't think there's no doubt that they're not going to tag anymore, especially. I think the whole thing Reginald is done here. Now it's sort of set in stone that this is the feud now. So let me ask you a question, JP. Is this a heel turn for Sasha Banks? Because I saw some people say it was, some people said it wasn't. I don't really think so. I don't think a slap to the face is says you're a heel. It depends on how she reacts on SmackDown on Friday and see if she kind of like calls out the fans or whatever. But what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the match and obviously that ending?
I don't necessarily think it was a heel turn per se. It was more just like two competitors being frustrated with each other. Like,
Yeah.
In any other sport, if your teammate causes you to mess up, you're going to get mad at them. So it's not necessarily a heel turn per se. It's more just anger from like, you had it, the match won, but then you perceive that Bianca Belair broke the pin up or broke the submission up. So of course there's going to be some anger there. I mean, it's really going to depend on what happens at SmackDown on Friday. That's really going to be the huge thing there. I really don't expect it to be a full-on heel turn. But as far as the whole like match goes, match itself was fine. I'm just ready for this Sasha Banks Bianca Belair to be done with everybody else outside of this feud. Because ever since Bianca Belair won the Rumble, it's either been Reginald or the SmackDown or the tag titles or Carmella. Somebody's been getting involved. And you don't really need that. There's been too many cooks with this feud, and it's so easy to make. Like we've said before, it's so easy for this match to make. But now that they're done with the tag titles, they're done with Carmella and Reginald for now, they can just focus on who's actually better, which is going to create for great television.
I completely agree, and I think the promos that they'll cut up until WrestleMania will be great. Again, I hope they're going to be moving on from the whole Reginald thing and going for the tag team titles. Obviously, I think with that slap at the end, the slap heard around the world, as you could say. I mean, it was just we're probably done with that sort of connection there going on. So hopefully we'll get some good stuff there. Um, I don't think you need to make Sasha Banks a heel here to make this more compelling. Obviously, that's like the stock thing that you want to have at WrestleMania, the heel versus the face for the championship. But I don't think you need that. I think people know that these are the two of the top women in the business, especially when it comes to professional wrestling. So I think that's the buildup you need already. You don't need that. So I'm excited to see where this still goes. I don't think they totally messed it up. If I'm being quite real, so people they're making it harder for themselves, but I think we'll see on Friday how they kind of go with this. So obviously Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler retain. Still sticking with SmackDown, we get Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title, and obviously this past Friday on SmackDown, they had a little kind of face-to-face chat via satellite that really was, again, we saw more of that passionate stuff from Big E that we love to see. Still that same stuff from Apollo Crews, but it ended up where Big E just got so frustrated that he took off the wire and went to go find him in the Thunderdome. They found each other and then they just started fighting, and Big E was in control for most of that. And then I think he took a go kart one time, and Apollo Crews escaped in the go kart. So that was what we got from SmackDown between those two. We get to the match at Fastlane, and I tell you what, when the way that this match started, I'm like, okay, this might be match of the night because it was awesome. I mean, they just started punching each other. It came to a point where Big E speared Apollo Crews through the apron. They both knocked down on the ground. Um, he Big E's like kind of like talking to Apollo Crews during the match was also great in itself. He hit those two big splashes on the apron. Biggie did a couple belly to belly suplexes, but then Crews answered back with German suplexes. It was a really good match. However, it ended a little bit short when Crews and Eve were trying to do these kind of pinning reversal spots with one another. However, at the end, it looked a little bit weird when it was a roll up, a kind of a schoolboy pin, and it was Apollo Crews doing it at first, and the ref counted three, but then didn't, and then Big E got the pin and counted one, two, three, and then so Big E retained. So very weird, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't even like it was a ref's fault because the way that kind of Big E and Apollo were kind of doing it was at the end there was a little bit weird. So that's the match. And then afterwards, Apollo Crews was attacking Big E. He hit a couple of those Olympic slams and put his foot right on Big E's chest and is, getting there on top. So I think, like we said in the predictions, this is not going to be over. Seems like we're going to get some sort of WrestleMania match here, which I'm fine with. But I just can't help but think that every time that these guys have had an Intercontinental Championship match, it's always ended weird. They had that first time where I think it was like a double pin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had to restart the match, and then Biggie won pretty cleanly after a couple minutes. And then the second time they had it, Sami Zayn interfered, they
Mm-hmm.
DQ'd, and then now we get this where it started off really good, and then we get this kind of pinning thing. So I'd say it was a good match until that. What's your thoughts, JP, on that?
So, according to some reports, it looked like it was a botch. I don't know on behalf of who, but the ref just counted three, and that's what you're supposed to do when they're in a pinning predicament. You count one, two, three. It's on the wrestlers to kick out. Everything after was kind of on the hoof. They kind of made that up at the end. The match itself, like you said, was gearing up to be really good. It was a really good match up until the end, and unfortunately, that's going to be the thing people remember, a la the exploding barbed wire death match, which the match itself was good, but people will remember the ending. This match itself was good, but people will remember the ending, which wasn't that great. You had a feeling that this was going to go into Mania. I don't mind how they played it off at all because you knew this is going to lead into another match at WrestleMania. And honestly, this could work out in the creative room's favor because now you have a screwy finish and Apollo can use that to say, hey, I'm awarded another shot because this was a false finish. I get my second chance. So they could run with that. But yeah, the match itself was good. It's just unfortunate that it had the ending like that. And like you said, it feels like Apollo and Big E are snake bitten when it comes to one-on-one matches. Like everything's ending in a double pin or an interference or something is happening between those two.
It is very unfortunate, like you said. That's probably what the match is gonna be remembered for. Like if I ever kind of go back to this paper, which again I will. I mean, when we talk about the matches a little later, A lot of them were really good, but yeah, this one it was just ended very poorly, and obviously it was a botch. So, and again, like you said, I mean that's actually a good idea. They could use that kind of using that finish. We've seen that before. Obviously, I guess maybe a popular one was like when like in the 2000 or 2001 Royal Rumble and The Rock eliminated Big Show, and the Big Show said, "Wait a minute, his feet touch first," and stuff like that. They can use that. So yeah, but that's how the match went. So we move on to my most anticipated match of the whole night was Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman, of course. Um, and sadly, since we said we're going to kind of go back to the main roster shows throughout the week, well, let's go ahead and talk about it. So Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman was supposed to have a match on Raw. Um, and that obviously didn't lead anywhere. So what happened was that Braun went to the ring and he was demanding a talk from McMahon and Shane McMahon. Strowman demanded a match because he said, I know you don't have the balls to tell me you want a match, but I'm gonna say I'll give you a match if you want to accept it." And what did Shane do? He called him stupid several times. Kind of the I guess this is what we. It's just great. They yell at each other, and then Shane actually accepts, and then the match actually takes place. But it never really starts, sort of thing, and they're kind of going around. Shane's like baiting Strowman, but Strowman actually catches him at one point. He starts destroying at him. He takes that full lap. He's doing that Strowman Express move that he does around the ring. But Shane takes the camera and he whacks him right across the face with it. I'll be honest, good spot there. The way I'll give him that thing. But then afterwards, he does the thing what he does to everybody. He puts Strowman in the announce table. He hits the elbow drop through the top turnbuckle. Again, you like seeing Shane do this, but the story around is just kind of crap. He gets green slime from Nickelodeon. I guess he borrowed from under the ring, and he dumps it all over Strowman. Um, and that's it. And that's what we see from Shane and Strowman. And then they announced later in the night that JP. They announced later in the night that they're having a match at Fastlane. No stipulation, just a normal match at Fastlane. So they can't have the match at Fastlane because earlier in the night, or they kind of announced in the kickoff show, he injured himself, Shane McMahon. Um, and they showed a video of him kind of training and then injuring himself, which makes me believe that it's purely, I'm pretty sure it's a kayfabe injury. So he's walking backstage. He has like the Shane O'Mac actually sort of like gear on, but then Elias and Jackson Riker kind of run into him. They ask kind of like if he wants to help him with his Bad Bunny problem, but Shane says, I actually have an idea. Pretty much they're in the ring and they set up Strowman versus Elias. That is a match at Fastlane. Braun Strowman versus Elias. Not like a match for the Raw Women's Championship. No, Asuka's not defending it. It's Strowman versus Elias. And I mean, I'm not going to say the match was absolutely awful, but it was just the most nothing match I've maybe ever seen on a pay per view in a while from WWE. It just didn't mean anything to me at all. But I mean, I guess kind of going over a couple spots here. I mean, Elias he hit like a DDT after he was getting really just battered by Strowman. He hits an elbow drop for a 2 count, but Strowman recovers, hit the power slam for the win. Again, nothing match. JP, thoughts on this?
I mean, it was a match. That's what It was a match. And I feel like the bigger thing that came out of this is it's honestly disappointing how much they've turned Braun Strowman into an afterthought throughout his whole career. Ever since he was a singles wrestler, he was on fire. And I posted this on Twitter. He was on fire, throwing people in the trash cans, tilting over cars, pulling down scaffolding. But now he's just, like I said, an afterthought. He's having nothing matches with Elias on pay-per-views and a feud with Shane McMahon that nobody wants or nobody likes. It's disappointing, and I feel like they really messed it up. I feel like they messed it up with the Nicholas match at Mania. They wanted something for him to do, and they gave him Nicholas and the bar, but he's become an afterthought, and it's disappointing because you could have made the argument a couple of years ago that he should have been a Universal Champion by now, multiple times. He already has been, I think, because he beat Goldberg. I'd like to forget about that, but yeah, man, it's sad how much he's become an afterthought, and the fact that we're kind of just like, this was literally a nothing match. on a pay-per-view between Braun and Elias.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, they could have done this on Raw. I feel the same exact sort of thing that happened. They set up the match on Monday Night Raw, and then he says, "I can't do it. I injured myself, whatever." And then you put in Elias. I don't see why they did it. Again, it wasn't horrible. This is kind of what I was talking about before. Like when the highs were high in this whole pay per view night, it was really high, and then the lows in it, like this match, again, wasn't terrible. It was just nothing, and that's pretty much my sort of thing with this match. Again, we're easily going to see Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. It seems like confirmed at this point that we're going to see that one of those nights. We'll see Shane jump off the pirate ship, hopefully, and it'll be fine. But I don't know. It's just this has been a total waste of time. And again, you're trying to find something. It seems like you're trying to find something not only for Shane but for Braun Strowman to do. But it's really just not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody, and no one is interested. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. So we move on to a really good match actually on the card. It was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins. And obviously, the built up on this last Friday after Seth Rollins hit two curb stomps with Cesaro the week before in the rematch against Murphy. He comes out, another great suit, by the way. And he pretty much just talks about how Cesaro was disrespecting him, how he's so much better than him. But Shinsuke actually comes out to the ring and tells him to shut up. And he starts attacking. Seth Rollins actually gets the upper hand, hits a Kinshasa on him. And, Seth Rollins just leaves and we set up the match for Fastlane. So we have the match here. And again, like I said before, this was a really solid match between two great wrestlers here. Again, Seth Rollins' first match back actually since he returned at the Royal Rumble in January. So again, we see a really good match between these two guys. They started with a quick exchange, which actually, I mean, even though JP probably doesn't want me to mention this, Shinsuke Nakamura did talk with Matt Riddle backstage, and Matt Riddle was on a scooter and he was pitching Shinsuke some ideas about a business opportunity with dealing with scooters. I
Please
really
never let Matt Riddle cut promos. I'm
so
begging you, because
so
they're not good.
oh my god. So it came to a point where like this camera kind of zoomed in on Riddle, but and Shinsuke just left, kind of like Batman esque when like when people are kind of talking and they turn around, he's gone. Same thing happened, but Shinsuke was just hiding behind a box because he really did not want to listen to this. So yeah, and of course JP, it's like a scheduled tweet he does every time Matt Riddle cuts a promo. It's like, why are you making this guy cut promos? Now let me ask you a question, JP. Real question. Do you feel that this is Matt Riddle? Because I feel like it's just the writing that they're giving him. It's just not doing him justice at all. I feel.
I feel like it's the writing. Not as much like Matt Riddle, but even at NXT, I don't feel like Matt Riddle's promos were that like to be taken like serious. I think there needs to be better writing if he's going to cut promos, but you could literally just make him like Brock Lesnar and just have him go out and beat people up, put him with a manager, and it'll be fine. But I don't want to hear promos about him like or writing promos about like scooter businesses. I feel like that's like taking his natural personality and making it annoying. Like just let him be himself. That's really the thing. I don't hate Matt Riddle. I don't hate when he talks. It's just what they give him is really bad. And I don't think he makes it better.
Yeah. No, I get that. Listen, I mean, it really is. It's always cringe every time he talks, and again, I don't think it's him. One of the ideas that I actually remember hearing when Kurt Angle was kind of like in the rumors for him being that big signing for AEW, and he turned it down. Like he turned down a Legends contract with WWE, I heard, and this is coming from him from his podcast. He even turned out a chance for him to actually be the manager for Matt Riddle. I'm honestly thinking about that and seeing that would be a really good pairing. I think between those two, if that ever happened. But we move on to the actual match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins. They lock up. Rollins applies a side headlock there. Nakamura counters it, and he taunts Rollins to sucker him in for a kick to the gut there. The Messiah slams his head into the announce table, but they take this outside. Ambulance outside. He scored a near fall with a gut buster. We get the same great vengeance stuff between the two Falcon arrows. Kinshasa says, like, by the way, and you even tweeted about this too, but one of my favorite Shinsuke Nakamura moves is when when the opponent gets kind of suckered into the ropes and he does like this like slide to the outside, like German suplex. Really,
Yes. It's
it's
amazing.
it's so clean to see. And then, but it gets to the point where Rollins takes over, and it was funny how he kept ranting and screaming 22 times because that's the amount of times that Cesaro swung him around on a recent edition of SmackDown. But they started to pick up steam, but eventually Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp on Shinsuke for the win. We were expecting it. Seth Rollins to win this. Obviously, we're gonna get Seth Rollins and Cesaro at WrestleMania. Cannot wait for that. But this is going to be the match that kind of put Seth Rollins back in the win column to kind of set him up. You see WWE literally on the same show. You need people to win for the most part to kind of set up a match. You don't have people like Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair losing. Off of that though, uh, really good match. Obviously, really good match. We weren't expecting anything less. Obviously, me and we, you heard us. If you heard us before, me and JP, we love Shinsuke. Again, we always talk about that gauntlet match where like he made such a huge impact, and we thought that he was destined to be Universal Champion coming WrestleMania time.
I'm still
Literally,
hoping, still holding out hope.
still hoping maybe after WrestleMania we'll see something. Um, I don't know, maybe we'll see, but it was a really good match. JP, what did you think?
It started off a little slow, but it picked up a lot at the end. But I know it's breaking news, but you guys, Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura are very good at wrestling. That's really what we got here. It was the match between two really good wrestlers. And Seth Rollins is arguably at the top of his game as a heel. And the swing, talking about swinging the 22 times was hilarious to me because I can just imagine like as he's being swung by Cesaro, he's like counting in his head, like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. Okay, this is a little too much now. I wonder at what number was like the breaking point. Like, okay, this is too much. I have to get revenge on him and his entire bloodline. So I feel like I'd say like 13, maybe. After swing 13, he was like, yep, that's it. I gotta kill him. But I really enjoyed this match. Like I said, it started out a little slow. I'm intrigued to see where Shinsuke goes from here, though, because it feels like Cesaro and Shinsuke are kind of a tag team, but not really a tag team. But it's really good to see Shinsuke back having singles matches on pay-per-views. I feel like it's a good step in the right direction for where he's going.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, hopefully, we always want Shinsuke to be in the main title picture. I think that's everybody. Usually when you bring up a name of a person who's been underutilized in WWE, Shinsuke's always usually at the top of the list. It's always kind of him and Ricochet. That's the names that people mention. And I can't help but agree. And again, it seemed like in that gauntlet match, he had so much momentum that we thought that maybe they were setting up something there with him and Roman. That didn't happen. So, like you said, I'm interested to see where that goes as well. Some other news that we should kind of just bring up real quick. Andrade was released after the show. They finally accepted his kind of request to do a release, and now he's moving on to hopefully better things. My question to you, JP, is: do you have any promotion in mind, and he would fit in well with? And again, I'm not gonna. You probably weren't gonna say it anyways, but like just this is to people in the IWC. If I just see one more person that says that Andrade needs to go to AEW, okay, it just leave him alone, please. They should just focus on who they have. I mean, I don't even think they would consider. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But thoughts on that, JP? Thoughts on the promotions that he can go to? Anything?
I honestly didn't think that they would release Andrade like quickly like that. I thought it was going to be, they're going to deny it. They're going to hold on as long as they can and kind of make the situation real, like fester real badly. But they clean break. I am excited to see where he goes. I don't think he's going to AEW because I think AEW has a lot of problems with booking the people they still have now. Like there's a log jam of a lot of people who aren't getting on the shows. So I feel like they need to focus on booking and developing those people before they bring another person with the same star quality as Andrade in. I'm going to say New Japan. I think he goes to New Japan because he has experience in New Japan. He was one who created Los Ignobrables de Japan or Los Ignobrables de Mexico. He was one who created that. I could also see him going to Ring of Honor because he's with Rush and Dragon Lee, who helped create Los Ignobrables. So my vote is New Japan, but I also kind of think he'll do Ring of Honor as well.
Yeah. I again, wherever he goes, whether it's those two promotions, AAA, I mean MLW, wherever he goes, I mean he's going to succeed. The guy is very talented in the ring. We've seen it in his NXT days, even when in WWE. When he was the United States champion for that good run he did, and with Selena Vega and stuff like that. I really thought that again that whole partnership with him and Angel Garza with Selena Vega, that was some good stuff they had there. But obviously that didn't turn out the way we did. So thoughts on him. And obviously, there's speculation going on, like, with Charlotte Flair sort of saying, because I saw this whole kind of rumors that, like, Charlotte Flair said that she would walk if they didn't grant his release and stuff like that. And I think someone else said, like, WWE was saying to her that, like, you won't be in WrestleMania, because of this. And she said, who cares? And again, take these rumors with a grain of salt. Usually, when I see these kind of things on someone posts a thing on Reddit, I'm like, okay, it's Reddit. Okay, that's like the last thing I get my news from. So we'll see. But moving on, we get to what in my I kind of want to rewatch Fastlane again just to kind of see. But I think personally, my match of the night, we get to Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in a no holds barred match. And before that, what they did on Raw this past week, Drew McIntyre had opened the show last Monday Night Raw against The Miz. He obliterated him. We obviously we expected, even though I will say that a lot of people were kind of questioning, like, oh, why is The Miz kind of, getting a little bit kind of in some offense in that he didn't get into Bobby Lashley. But I mean,
The offense in. Relax, people. He got crushed. Like he got
crushed.
He got cooked.
Yeah,
absolutely cooked.
He did. Yeah, he got cooked. And then later in the night, we had Sheamus actually fight against Bobby Lashley in the main event. Again, another good match there. So that pretty much set up their no holds barred. And again, on Monday, when they announced that they're going to have this match at Fastlane, and throughout the whole week until Friday, they didn't announce any stipulation with this match, which really worried me for a bit. I'm like, okay, hopefully, again, their first match, which was, pretty much a standard match, was great. It was, to me, I think still my personal favorite television match so far in WWE this year. But they can't have another one. They need to raise the stakes here, and they did. No holds barred. This match was absolutely bonkers, and I cannot wait to talk about this match. So, again, we didn't have any no contests here. No disqualifications, whatever. Drew McIntyre comes out in this war paint Braveheart thing.
God, that was awesome.
That was great when he came out in that again. Like he even though we all should have anticipated it, because he kept saying that him and this match at Fastlane, him and Sheamus are going to be at war. I mean, he's definitely looked apart. That's for damn sure. So he comes out. Sheamus comes out. They start off with words. Again, you feel the anticipation with this match. They start off with each other, and it's not very slow until they get out, and then they just start piling the weapons in there. They saw Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa's match on Wednesday, and they said, let's up the stakes on this one. They bring in kendo sticks, which really kind of define their second match there. But they fought at ringside for quite a bit. And then they just kind of trade each other with kendo shots, and it's absolutely brutal. And then Sheamus tries to run away, but McIntyre catches him. And then now they're fighting into I was going to say the crowd area, but really the Thunderdome among the LED screens, which was great. They go into an elevated area, and it came to a point where Sheamus is trying to, like, I think, slam Drew McIntyre in the screens, but Drew McIntyre reverses and throws Sheamus into some LED screens, and there's like a little bit of an explosion. I thought that was insane. That was really insane. And then afterwards, it came to a point they're still fighting outside. Each of them do like suplexes on the concrete. But then Sheamus nails him with a bro kick as they approach the ring again, and he grabs McIntyre on this little platform here, and he does white noise jumping on the announce table, which is amazing.
That was
again. Sick. Yeah, listen, the one thing I liked about this match is that no one really dominated each other. We saw each of them get their kind of big spots in there. That was absolutely incredible. But they kind of go back into the ring, and Sheamus gets actually part of the announce table, throws into the ring, and he's going to do like an Alabama slam on it. But then Drew McIntyre reverses that, does a future shock DDT on that part of the announce table. He gets up, hits the Claymore, and he gets a win there. And again, Drew McIntyre, he obviously needs this win. He has a match against Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. JP, thoughts on this match?
This was a slugfest. It automatically went into one of my favorite matches of the year. The first time Sheamus and Drew fought, it's one of my matches of the year so far, and this one lived up to the hype and more. Like you could tell, like whenever they wrestle, it is physical. They're trying to literally murder each other. Like again, that white noise off the barricade through the table was so clean. Like the table just like exploded, and then DDTing them on like the announce table, because normally we see like if you're gonna do a DDT, it's like on a chair or something. This is the first time I've ever seen like someone use a piece of the announce table as like a weapon. So it was an absolutely phenomenal match. I wouldn't mind seeing it again for a title. I really wouldn't. Like this is one of those rivalries where I'm like, yeah, fight forever. I wouldn't mind seeing them. You could just have a pay per view of just Sheamus and Drew beating each other up the entire pay per view, and I'd watch every minute because it was awesome. Um, but I do think the right person won ultimately. If you're gonna have Drew challenge for the WWE title, you gotta have him go in with a win, have him have some momentum. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this again for the title. In fact, let's do it. If Drew beats Bobby Lashley, Sheamus, I feel like either way it goes, whoever wins at WrestleMania, Sheamus should be the next one up because Sheamus is entering that he don't miss category for 2021. I feel like he's already there. He hasn't missed with a single match this year.
Again, I'm trying to because here's the thing, right? So again, like I said before, I mean, this is probably my match of the night for sure. I mean, we'll get to Roman and Daniel Bryan, which was a banger, and we'll talk about it. But I just love this. These are the type of matches I love. And again, the buildup is there. And which is probably why it was so great to me, just because again, we even that video package they showed before, which is great. I mean, just kind of showing their friendship for 20 plus years, their stuff in Florida Championship Wrestling, Irish Whip Wrestling, just stuff like that. It was just awesome to see. And again, they trust each other so much, and they have that built-in friendship where like they don't mind actually beating each other up, which is why we talk about like I love these Finn Balor matches in 2021. Again, Pete Dunne and against Kyle O'Reilly. It's just the amount of trust that these two have for one another that they just put on an absolute, like you said, slugfest that looks like they're actually killing each other there. And you could just tell the trust is there, and it's great. Again, like you said, Drew McIntyre has been great. We know this with Sheamus has been really killing into the ring. He really, like you said, doesn't miss. And again, though, I wouldn't mind a championship match between these two. It seems like it's almost certain, just because when Drew McIntyre was the champion, he literally said yes, let's do this match. So I think we'll probably get this one way or the other after WrestleMania. Um, but he's approaching almost Jey Uso territory. I think I mentioned this last show too, because every time he's in the ring, it's a banger, but he always loses.
Yeah.
He continues to lose, whether it be Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, or whoever else it may be. I think he did have like that one match where he faced Jeff Hardy, I think maybe before Elimination Chamber, and he obviously won that one. But other than that, he's been losing, and I mean losing and strongly, but still losing. So hopefully, up until this time, until WrestleMania, we'll see where he falls and see how they use him. Because I mean, after this, I mean, he looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, Sheamus is doing almost like the best in ring work in his career, and he's losing.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's been great. What he's
Yeah, like I
doing.
said, he definitely should be number one contender for whoever wins after WrestleMania. Because even though he's lost, he's put like his body through like literal like hell in all the matches, like the Elimination Chamber, all the Drew matches. I mean, I was watching during the Fastlane, and they had like scars all over their back just from like kendo sticks, LED lights, announce tables, barricades, steel chairs. The Bobby Lashley match on Raw was really good. So I feel like he's the clear cut number one contender after Drew and Bobby. Like there's nowhere else it can go except if you do a rematch. So he definitely is kind of in that Jey Uso category, but it's different because I feel like Jey is more tied to like Roman than Sheamus is to Drew.
Right. No, yeah, I see that too. Yeah, just again that comparison of him, like again putting in so much good work in the ring and then obviously losing. Well, again, we'll see. I feel like he has deserved that spot. I mean, I don't know, maybe even winning the championship. I don't even know. We'll see what the plans are after WrestleMania. Again, Sheamus has been doing some good stuff, and we'll see what work they do give him going into WrestleMania. I doubt they'll put Sheamus in a triple threat at WrestleMania, because since we're possibly having another triple threat match at WrestleMania, which we'll talk about in a bit. But keeping on the Raw side, this next match, which I was very excited for. I will be honest. I was very excited for this match. Uh, the scheduled match was Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. Okay, so going into this match in the predictions again, if you want to check out the predictions episode, go for it. Please check it out. JP said it was going to end in a no contest. I was thinking to myself, I would love to see Alexa Bliss pin Randy Orton. I'm gonna still go ahead and say that. But let's go ahead and talk about this. So I'm pretty sure this was pre-recorded. This match, it's in some of the spots there. It looked very pre-recorded. Plus, they kind of showed the announce table. Literally, it was the match afterwards, and the announce table was fine. After it was destroyed. I know they have like spare announce tables that they replace it with, but still was just too fast. It doesn't matter. So on Raw, kind of the same thing. She was kind of toying with him. She did get produce that challenge to him, and at Fastlane he obviously accepted and sort of thing. So we get to the match here, and Randy Orton does his entrance, and as he's doing his vintage pose, he starts to kind of puke out that black goo again, and he's
Once
just
you
kind of
started
like
puking up that motor oil, I was like, "Yep, it's finna be some shenanigans, baby," and I love it.
it, it was great. Obviously, I wasn't expecting a technical masterpiece of a match here. Obviously, that's not what I wanted. If I'm being honest, that's not what I wanted. So he does that. He gets out of the ring. He just frustrates, like he's telling the guy, "Give me a damn towel." And he's wiping off his face with that black stuff. I thought it was great. And then so we get Bliss coming out, and he comes out to her original music, and then the Firefly Funhouse music, and just absolute creepy music. I felt very, very uncomfortable listening to that music. She actually comes out kind of like white makeup, kind of like very looking a little ghastly and airy. Um, she stands in the corner, and I remember at a point, like the referee, like how he always kind of tells the opponents if they're ready. He tells Randy if you're ready. He's like, Alexa, you ready? She just looks at him like, what do you think she's gonna do, bro? So he runs at her, but um the fire kind of raises in the middle of the ring. Um and afterwards she also shoots like fireballs at him. I urge people to watch this match. Okay.
Please go watch this. This is
Please go watch this match.
art, man.
Listen, there were some bangers on this card, but this was heat, if you know what I mean. So, he then starts running. He actually charges at her, but she dodges it, and he crashes into the ring post. Um, and Orton tries to follow her around the ring until this is the part where I know definitely pre-recorded when like they're like standing, he's like looking at her, and she just kind of like lighting equipment falls in the middle of them. Bro, she is trying to kill him.
Like
So
straight up murder.
yeah, and then she shoots another fireball at him, but he manages to avoid it this time. And then they're back in the ring, and we see a hand coming out coming out of the ring. It grabs Randy Orton's foot, and he like backs away. He like looks at it, and then we see the Fiend come out of the ring,
Dude,
and he is burnt up. His mask is like melted a little
it
bit.
looks so cool.
So cool. And he comes out, and then Bliss pushes Orton into the Sister Abigail from the Fiend. He hits it. She goes for the pin. An interesting pin, but let me just say that first. I was thinking maybe Randy Orton is, maybe he's not feeling that bad. So the ref's there. The ref's still there. The ref just comes out of nowhere and just pins, and Alexa Bliss wins. Okay, Alexa Bliss wins. JP, you gotta give me credit. Okay.
Yeah, you get all the credit there. You thought Alexa Bliss would pin Randy Orton. I wanted this to happen. It happened. Now I can begin my discourse that Alexa Bliss should do challenge for the WWE title because she has pinned Randy Orton. But in all seriousness, this was amazing to me. Honestly, what did you expect? We knew the Fiend was going to come back. We knew there were going to be shenanigans, but they knocked it out of the park with this one. I feel like the Fiend or Bray Wyatt, if he wasn't in wrestling, he could be a pretty good actor or pretty good, like, whatever he decides to do in TV or film. Because whoever he got to make that Fiend mask, like, deserves all the money in the world because that looked so awesome. I'm also convinced that Alexa Bliss is a firebender because she has shot out fireballs, used a firewall as a defense. I expect her to show the mark of the Fire Nation, and we'll only have to bring back the Avatar to defeat her. What did you expect from this? I don't know why people were so mad. Because what did you expect? This, you knew shenanigans were gonna happen. You knew the Fiend was gonna come back, and they did it in the best possible way. So I got all my laughs, all my great content out of it because it was cool. Like, it's not like I didn't expect, like you said, I didn't expect this to be a technical masterpiece. I knew the Fiend was gonna come back, and there was gonna be some shenanigans. I got both of those. I'm satisfied.
I agree. I'm satisfied too. And again, I've seen this whole storyline. I would say as a whole, maybe is it's definitely polarizing because again, if you're, listen, I would consider myself a very huge wrestling watcher, avid watcher, a fan. But I think people don't realize that there's also these kind of things in wrestling, these kind of storylines, supernatural sort of stuff. And listen, I'm digging it. To me, I think that again, I think it's great. It's personally for me, I'm loving it. I think it's one of the best things on Raw. I look forward to it every week. It's creepy. It's sometimes disgusting. Okay. But that's what I look forward to, if I'm being quite real. And again, I thought it was great. I thought it was all great. I thought the whole Fiend coming out and doing that stuff, his look is great. I'm excited to see what they do in the future. It seems like we're going to get the Fiend and Randy Orton again at WrestleMania, probably a Firefly Funhouse match, cinematic sort of thing. I'm excited for it. Um, it just makes me excited for it. Again, I can see why people maybe would not like this. If they're looking for wrestling, you're not going to get wrestling, okay? Especially now with this one. But again, what I just don't know what people are expecting. Like
Yeah,
you said,
I mean,
so
in the main roster, it is called the WWE, and like the E is for entertainment. I was thoroughly entertained by this. It was entertaining. So I got what I wanted out of it. I don't know what everybody else wanted, but of course it's subjective. I don't know what you wanted from this, but I got what I wanted. Some shenanigans, Alexa Bliss shooting fireballs, um, Randy Orton being confused, coughing up motor oil. The Fiend comes back, looks great. It was what I expected, and I liked it.
I like it too. Again, so we'll see what happens on these next few editions of Raw. And again, maybe Randy Orton is not feeling terrible at the end of that match. So good for you, Randy. Even though I saw Randy Orton's wife get a little bit mad on Twitter. Did you see
Oh
that?
yeah, I saw that. I,
That was funny. That was
it
funny.
was so funny because I think Randy Orton tweeted something out and then deleted it about Soldier Boy. I gotta find it, dog. But I was talking with other people I talk with on Twitter, and so he said, like, I don't know how Randy hasn't found like any anti-voodoo stuff at all recently. And I'm like, I don't think they sell that at like Walmart or something. Like, I don't think they sell like anti-voodoo like medicine at like Walmart or like Walgreens. Like, imagine going to like a CVS and be like, hey, this demon or voodoo, whatever you want to call it, is making me cough up black blood. Um, I'm seeing doppelgangers of myself. She's drawing herself in pentagrams, laughing at me with fireballs. I've been shot in the face with a fireball. I need some anti-voodoo stuff. I don't know what they're gonna tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I'd tell them. Cause like, what are you supposed to? How are you
Just
supposed to find that?
I'm just praying for Randy. There we go. Praying for you, Randy Orton.
Oh, okay. Here's the tweet.
Okay.
So Randy Orton at 2:15 this morning tweeted out, apparently my wife doesn't care too much for Alexa Bliss. Maybe Soldier Boy should tell her it's fake. Hashtag you.
Is that real?
That is real.
Oh my
100% real.
god.
Dog.
That's funny.
I'm
I just remember that
dog.
I I just remember the wife like, oh, Alexa, honey, you messed up there or something
Yeah.
the way that because obviously the way that she pinned him. But we move on. We move on. Again, I'm digging this. I'm digging the story. Yeah, you just sent me the story. Um, Okay, well, let's move on to the main event then. We get to the main event, which is Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. Edge is the special enforcer of this match. He's not the special referee, he's a special enforcer, which means he's kind of at ringside, checking if things are going down the middle, sort of thing. We got Edge versus Jey Uso on last SmackDown and they had a match again to see who would be that special enforcer. Again, a really good match between these two at the main event, but Edge came out on top. Daniel Bryan and Edge, they were doing kind of keeping that tension alive between the two, saying how, that Edge didn't like the way that Daniel Bryan kind of approached this. And then, basically it was Daniel Bryan sort of telling Roman Reigns that, that he's going to make him tap out. And Reigns got really angry at that. So now we're pretty much at the event for it. And I mean, what did we expect, from this match? It was a banger, as we kind of thought it would be, but pretty much at the end, which is kind of took maybe, I guess, from me, I was always expecting sort of a weird finish, or just kind of like a screwy finish here involving someone. Um, so I can't say that I can't downgrade the match too low, because again, like, it was pretty much Drew and Sheamus and this match of what would be my match of the night. So, but we do get that. Let's just go to the end here again. These two kind of go at each other. There's not really a moment in time where we see kind of Roman being. It's not like a one-sided match throughout it all. We see Daniel Bryan kind of play these mind games throughout the match with Roman Reigns, which I thought was great. Again, the ring psychology from Daniel Bryan was great in this. And again, we saw the great stuff from Roman Reigns. Again, they have so much chemistry, and I would feel like if it wasn't for maybe this finish, that they would have had a better match in Fastlane from 2015. So, but going back to the end of this match here, so um, we see Daniel Bryan putting Reigns in a triangle choke, which leads into a yes lock. But before that, Bryan kicked out of a power bomb from Reigns, and they both struggled to get back up. And then Reigns avoids a running knee, which Bryan takes out the referee instead.
The ref, like, absolutely, like, gets obliterated.
He gets obliterated by that running knee. So Edge gets into the ring, and because he's the special enforcer, I mean, he's kind of the second in command sort of thing. So he becomes the ref, and but so he's counting for Roman as Roman hits the spear on Daniel Bryan. So he counts. Obviously, it's kind of a late count because he gets into the ring and has to count. So it's a 2 count. Um, and then he kind of like looks at Edge, just like saying, "What are you trying to do here? That was 3, whatever." So this is the part where Daniel Bryan puts Reigns into the triangle choke and then the yes lock. But then Jey Uso comes out of nowhere and delivers super kicks to Edge and Daniel Bryan. And he also sends Edge into the post before Bryan took him out with a running knee of himself. Daniel Bryan gets the chair that Uso brought in, and he uses it. And he wants to hit Reigns, but he hits Edge by mistake. He then puts Roman Reigns back in the yes lock, and I was like, oh my god, are we gonna see a new champion here? And he's tapping very like lightly, but then Edge grabs a chair and smacks him with it in the back, in the back, and also on Reigns too. It's not like he focuses, but he does hit Daniel Bryan with it. And then a new official comes into the ring. Reigns pins Daniel Bryan. 1, 2, 3. That's it. And I will say, kind of lame. And I'm not just saying that because I did the DraftKings pool and I thought that Reigns would win by submission. That was literally the only thing I got wrong, because I thought he's going to put him in the guillotine to finish it. It took 2 chair shots for Bryan to be counted. 1, 2, 3. That's literally my only complaint. Literally my only complaint. Other than that, I thought the match was great. And again, the ending needed to happen. And we pretty much said this. And again, with my prediction on the Fastlane predictions, there was going to come to a point where Edge is going to screw over Daniel Bryan in this one. And again, it seems like they're reporting like we're in fact getting a triple threat match in WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan in there. So before I give my thoughts on the rest of the match, kind of piggybacking off that, JP, thoughts on the match, thoughts on that ending.
All right, so this wasn't just a wrestling match. This was a wrestling match. And I'm talking about RASSLIN apostrophe, wrestling. This was honestly, with all of the shenanigans involved, my second favorite match of the year. It's the second best match of the year so far, because of the whole, it wasn't just like doing a bunch of moves just to do them. The story within it was also phenomenal. With Daniel Bryan seeming like he completely outsmarted Roman at every turn, starting with the beginning where he was hitting him with the kicks and kind of egging him on, like how he's been doing leading up to Fastlane. Um, the whole dynamic of Edge being out there, Jey Uso getting involved, everything was absolutely perfect in my mind. And I saw a lot of people saying like, "Why Edge do this? What's going on with Edge?" Edge is better as a heel. Like, I don't know if this is like news to people, but he's better as a bad guy. This turns Daniel Bryan into the good guy with Edge wanting his moment. I feel like this turns Edge back into the ultimate opportunist because he wants his moment. This is his time. Like, he's reclaiming the thing that he never lost. And he doesn't want anybody else to be involved. It's very kind of heel sounding with very me, my title, me. And Roman Reigns being the heel that he is, this feels like Daniel Bryan is the face in this. And I saw somebody compare this to when Daniel won the title at WrestleMania against the top heel who was chosen with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns being the heels that were chosen. And then the returning heel who won the Rumble and was wanting the shot back at the title they never lost, Batista and Edge. I feel like there are differences between those two fundamentally, but I still kind of see the comparison. But either way it goes, this match was absolutely phenomenal. I was this close to putting it as my best match of the year, but there are so many others. I'm like, hold on, I'll just wait. Because even looking at my list right now, I'm like, oh, a lot of these can be number one. But for now, it's my second best match of the year. It was my match of the night. Man, there's really not much else I can say about it other than it was amazing.
It was. I'll give it that. Again, up until, and again, the stuff at the end, the kind of the shenanigans that happened at the end, it needed to happen. Obviously, setting up that triple threat for WrestleMania, but the match up until then, and it was a long match. I mean, well, not like long because it was dragging. No, not like that. They gave him a lot of time here, and they put on a great show. Again, Roman Reigns, when he's the Universal Champion in these pay per view matches, he hasn't missed once.
Not once.
Not once. I mean, every single match he had with Kevin Owens and a pay per view was great. The two he had with Jey Uso was great, and then now he adds on this one, which is
Wow.
which is great. Why? What's up?
That match went 30 minutes.
Again, it didn't really that's a lot of that's great. That's honestly the perfect amount of time to give these two. Again, they deserved it because again it seemed like they never let up. The endurance of these two, and again that chemistry, it really worked out for the better. And again, it had the stakes, it had the stuff in the game. But again, I can't believe that chair shots to the back would keep Brian down for 3.
Well, I feel like that the whole chair shots thing, it's not the chair shots himself. It's more of a sum of all the body blows that he's taken. Like if you look at a boxing match, not every match ends with like a one punch KO. It could be like a bunch of body blows, and then you just can't keep going on. The chair shots felt like body blows that finished off a fighter at the end. And the fact that Daniel Bryan went through all of that just from Roman, just take 2 chair shots from Edge to be like the final blows, it made sense to me. It kind of felt like, I get it because the match had to end that way because you couldn't logically like have Edge still out there after he like hit Daniel Bryan with 2 chair shots. And like, I guess it felt like it was the end at that point. But I kind of saw it as like a fight, Not every fighter's going to go down on like the knockout blow. It takes a summation of a bunch of shots. Sometimes it takes a bunch of body blows for somebody to actually finally go down.
I don't buy. But for me, here's the thing. Again, this is like, and I won't even take away from. I just remember that even at the end of WrestleMania 17's main event with The Rock and Austin, obviously one of the all-time best WWE matches ever, literally one of the best main events of all time. I think the ending blows from Austin to Rock were chair shots to the back, and that's kind of what ended him. Like I've always found that a little bit underwhelming. Like for me, if Edge speared him and then did the same exact reaction. Like you saw like the reaction that Edge had after doing chair shots to Daniel Bryan. Again, he was just like you saw that heelish type of thing where it's like, this is my moment. And saying that sort of stuff, I thought it was great. I honestly don't think Edge will become a heel. I think he'll be the same way he's been. I don't think this is like a heel turn or anything. Um, but when it came to him, Brian Reigns pinning him like that, it was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like to me, I thought that after the chair shots, it would be him putting Brian in the guillotine. He would be knocked out already, and then now he would win the match that way. Either way, though, it was still an amazing match and an amazing way again to end Fastlane. And again, this is part of the highs I was talking about, where the highs were really good. Sheamus and McIntyre, amazing. Personally, for me, match of the night. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, so close there, but still an amazing match. Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins, he had some good stuff there. But the lows were the lows. So let me ask you a question, JP. Since it's right now, I would say that this is the fourth WWE pay per view so far. I would say, including NXT Takeover Vengeance Day. Do you have a ranking, maybe so far, what you would consider to be from worst to best so far?
So
Um,
including NXT,
including Vengeance Day, yeah.
including Vengeance Day, and are we including the New Year's one?
Nah, that was TV. Let's just do pay per views.
Okay, just pay-per-views. So I think first, obviously, Vengeance Day. I mean, top to bottom, absolutely one of my favorite cards ever. Second, I'll go with the it's tough. I think I'm gonna go with the Royal Rumble second. Because both the men's and the women's rumbles were good. You had Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, one of my favorite matches of the year. Then I believe I'll go. Oh man, because I kind of don't want to do Fastlane, but I feel like Fastlane had two of my favorite matches of the year. But Elimination Chamber also had one of my a cool moment at the end. I think I'll go Fastlane then Elimination Chamber. I feel like the two matches at the top with Drew and Sheamus, and then Roman versus Daniel, those are two of my favorite matches of the year so far. I think that kind of outweighs the best from Elimination Chamber, but that's how I'd rank them so far.
Literally 100%. That's exactly mine. To me, Vengeance Day will be hard to top. Hopefully, Stand and Deliver or WrestleMania can do it. Hopefully. Um, and then second will be Rumble, because even besides the two great Rumble matches you had, again, that last man standing match, I even enjoy what they did with Goldberg and McIntyre. The fact that he didn't win pretty much was great, but the minutes that they did have was pretty good. I mean, Sasha and Carmella had a good one there as well. I definitely would. I would honestly easily put Fastlane there, because I feel for Chamber, besides the two Chamber matches, which I thought were really good, the other matches weren't the best. You had that triple threat United States Championship match, which is fine. It was okay.
Together, it was thrown together day of.
Exactly. You had that tag team match for the women's tag team titles, which again was fine. But for Fastlane, again, to me, Drew and Sheamus and Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, they made this card what it was. It was great. Even again, the Alexa Bliss, Randy Orton, Fiend stuff. I thought that was great. To me, it added to the card, and even the other matches. I mean, pretty much except for Braun Strowman.
I was going to say Elimination Chamber didn't have Braun Strowman. That immediately gets a plus.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but still, whatever. It is what it is. But same ranking there. So that's it for Fastlane. The last thing we are gonna do is kind of go over the Wednesday shows a little bit, NXT and AEW Dynamite. There was a lot there as well to go for those shows. So we'll go ahead and start off with NXT's first. And just kind of think again, there was a couple of stuff happening when they had a mini COVID outbreak with NXT, so some things needed to be changed. There's supposed to be a match between Imperium and Timothy Thatcher and Ciampa, which has changed a little bit, which we'll talk about. But it started off the same way: Austin Theory and Dexter Loomis, just a one-on-one match. And I gotta say, man, a solid match between these two. And again, we talked about kind of like how I think Dexter Loomis's moveset is very interesting. Excuse me. Just kind of like mixing that kind of old style, but also adapting to kind of the modern day. And I think Austin Theory is a great young talent, so I thought they had a pretty good match there. And again, just kind of continuing on that called the way and Dexter Loomis thing. And it seemed like maybe that Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae were kind of maybe part of the whole COVID thing, just because before the match started, Austin Theory was talking to them through FaceTime on like an iPad or something. So who knows if they are? It's all speculation. If they're part of that outbreak, hopefully they get better. Um, but a good match, and it's Loomis coming out with the win there. So just brief thoughts on that match, JP.
It was cool. It was a Dexter Loomis match. It was it had a hybrid style. I really enjoy Dexter Loomis wrestling. Outside of his character. I mean, the character itself is really good, but the wrestling itself is also amazing. Well, not amazing, but like it's very good. Austin Theory is coming into his own after being on Raw for like a couple months and then going back. It feels like he's starting to finally hit his stride a little bit. I am interested to see what they're going to do with Dexter Loomis and Johnny Gargano. Do you take the title off of Gargano and give it to Dexter Loomis, or do you keep it on Gargano? The thing with keeping it with Gargano is how many more times is he going to have to beat Dexter Loomis? How many more people is he going to have to go through? It feels like he's beaten everybody. But I thought the match itself was really cool. Still builds up the whole story of Dexter Loomis versus The Way.
Mm-hmm.
So it served its purpose.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like we're gonna get possibly Dexter Loomis going after the North American title. Which I mean, I don't think Dexter Loomis, the character, really needs to go for titles, but I mean, I don't mind it. So I mean, it seems like we're kind of going that way. So open the show though, we got Finn Balor in the ring. Immediately calls out Karrion Kross of what happened that last week. Obviously, he comes out with Scarlett. Pretty much Balor says that Kross doesn't have what it takes to beat him. Kross seems confident that he would regain the title that he never lost. At the next takeover, the match was pretty much set. Like I think before the show, that's going to be the main event for day 2 or for one of the nights they really did say. But Scarlett said that she was talking about seeing things in her tarot cards and gives kind of an ominous message about 2 champions draped in gold. So this leads to the tag team champions, Oney Lorcan and Burch, coming out and declaring that Balor should be facing Pete Dunne, not Kross, saying that Pete Dunne, the best technical wrestler in the world, can beat, Dana Bryan says otherwise, but beating Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. And Scarlett pretty much baits them into challenging Balor and Kross for the tag team titles. Lorcan seemed like he wasn't really paying attention to what she was saying, if you know what I mean, but it seemed like he heard. If you know, you know. But they pretty much that match is set up for later in the night. And again, I love Lorcan, I love Burch, but their reign as tag team champions has been kind of lame, in my opinion. But I mean, having a match against Kross and Balor couldn't be bad, right? We'll talk about it a little later why that was kind of weird and later there in the night, which is the main event. But we move on. After that, we get Breezango. After Theory and Loomis, we get Breezango versus Legado del Fantasma. And obviously, the leader of Fantasma, obviously, Santos Escobar is having a little bit of troubles with Jordan Devlin. But these two teams, they have a really good match with one another. They've been attacking each other on past editions in NXT. A fun, energetic match there that leads to Fantasma getting the win. But after the match was over, Devlin came out after Escobar was kind of telling the commentary table, like, where's Devlin right now? Where's the actual NXT Cruiserweight champion? He comes out. They pretty much kind of like, were talking to each other, saying who's the real one. I think Escobar even says that, while you were gone, like, like people forgot about you. People knew me. I reinvented the way of Cruiserweight wrestling. He challenges Devlin to a match, a takeover, stand and deliver. But Devlin hits a headbutt and a suplex before running with his title because they both have titles. I think he tells Escobar, take that replica title off, like it's not yours really. So that match is set up for one of the nights of Takeover. And so let me ask you, JP, thoughts on that tag team match, but thoughts on the one-on-one match for the Cruiserweight title at Takeover. I know you said that you think Escobar should win between those two.
Absolutely. Santos Escobar should definitely win because I don't think people care as much about Jordan Devlin as they do Santos Escobar. That's really that simple. The match itself between Legado and Breezango was really cool, really fun. Like you said, a fun little sprint match. It really just kind of shows the talent that's in this tag division, but you never really get a chance to show it because the NXT tag champions are cannon fodder and the Undisputed Era is kind of in shambles right now. So you need some tag teams to kind of step up, but there are a lot on there who can definitely do that. So I thought it was fun. It'll definitely set up for a title match for Legado maybe later in the future. But like I said, Jordan Devlin versus Santos Escobar, I'm excited for that match. I definitely think Santos Escobar should win. Like there is no world in which I want to see Jordan Devlin win this because he's going to take it back to NXT UK, and not as disrespect to NXT UK, but nobody really watches. And Santos Escobar brought the Cruiserweight title back to NXT, and he brought it back to 205 Live, where you can actually defend it against more people. Plus, I think Santos Escobar is a better wrestler. So, so I definitely think Santos Escobar should win.
I agree, but I think either way we'll get a really good match there again. It seems like that takeover card is gonna be really stacked. So we move on to the next night: Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark being this one of these talents that is getting highly touted. She gets her own sort of video package about her kind of being the next big thing, and sort of like that. She had a really awesome match against Io Shirai a couple weeks back, and once again puts in another banger against Dakota Kai. Really, for me personally, for NXT match of the night, easily. And we still know that Dakota Kai, even though she's kind of being a little bit overshadowed by Raquel Gonzalez at the moment, she could still go in the ring for sure. These two have a really good match with one another. Very fluid, and again, Zoe Stark, you could just see that even though I guess you could say she should be maybe kind of raw in the ring, she just looks very polished. But we get to the ending here, where Dakota Kai nails Stark with a super kick as she came flying into the ring from the top rope. She was unable to get the pin though, but after a few more moves, Kai hit Dakota kick on her for the pin and the win. After the match, we see Io Shirai come down to the ring and shove a contract in Raquel Gonzalez's chest and says, "Sign it," and then just leaves. So, which by the way, a couple days ago or just a day ago, it's confirmed that Raquel Gonzalez did sign it. They're gonna have a championship match. That's gonna main event night 1 of Takeover Stand and Deliver. Excited about that. JP, thoughts on the match? Thoughts on Raquel Gonzalez being the new NXT Women's Champion?
Now we're starting to get the Zoe Stark kind of cooking a little bit, because we had the match with Io Shirai, which was phenomenal. You had this match, which was also phenomenal. You can kind of keep making her into that like banger but loser kind of Jey Uso kind of range, but eventually she's gonna have to pick up some more wins against like non enhancement talent. So I'm excited to see where they go with her and her character. Her character seems kind of a bit raw right now, but I feel like they're going to develop that more as she gets more screen time. Dakota Kai, obviously one of the best in the business for NXT women. I thought it was actually really interesting that when Io Shirai first came out to the ring, she looked at Dakota Kai and then like rolled her eyes and flipped her hair and walked right past her. I feel like that moment right there is going to set up for another rivalry later on, depending on what happens with the NXT Women's title. Because I'm sure Dakota Kai did not take that lightly. Because she won the match. And Io Shirai is like, yeah, no. I want Raquel Gonzalez. Which, of course, banger. Can't wait. Main eventing night 1, which is honestly where it deserves to be. It deserves the main event. It is going to be interesting to see which night they put O'Reilly versus Adam Cole on. Because, oh boy, that one might take up some time.
Yeah, that definitely. Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that Gargano and Ciampa, when they had their unsanctioned match, that was made. I think that main evented.
It main evented.
Takeover, because I think that was the same one with Andrade and Aleister Black. I believe that was the same one. So again, I thought that they would main event one, but I don't mind Raquel Gonzalez or Io Shirai at all main eventing it. I think that's fine. But again, it depends when we're gonna see that. I think they said that Karrion Kross and Finn Balor was in a main event night too. Yep. So you'll see. I would feel, just because I think that night 1 of Takeover is actually going to be on the USA Network, so you're going to be able to watch it on USA. But I feel like maybe for that big of a match, you'll probably want to put that night too. So I feel like that match and then Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, that's going to get a lot of time. So, but we'll see there. Should be great. It should be great. So we're supposed to see a tag match between Marcel Barthel, and obviously his partner with Imperium versus Ciampa and Thatcher. We did not see that. And again, Thatcher couldn't be there. We think he's part of that little COVID outbreak. Whether he has it or he knew someone in the locker room that had it, we don't know yet. But it's Marcel Barthel versus Tommaso Ciampa that ends up being not a bad match between these two, actually. But Ciampa sends Barthel into Eichner, before hitting him with the Widow's Bell for the win. But as soon as he's kind of like, recovering from the win, Imperium's music hits and we see Walter. And by the way, it was an amazing shot. We saw the silhouette of like Walter's shadow. JP's excited. We see the silhouette of like Walter's shadow on the ramp. It was great. And then the lights come on. We see him, and then like Champ is like telling him to come in the ring. He takes off his like coat that he has. He comes into the ring, and he just wallops on Ciampa. He does that again. The best thing, the best thing I have seen in wrestling, one of the best things in wrestling today, is a chop from Walter. And the chop he did to Ciampa was great. He did a vicious power bomb on him, and then the rest of Imperium were just ganging up on him. So Walter's here. The NXT UK champion is here. JP, thoughts?
Finally, Walter is back in NXT. I am so excited for this. And I'm excited for a lot of different reasons. The match itself, it was physical. It was what you expect from Marcel Bartel and Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa is a very physical wrestler. It's what you expect. Good match. But Walter's back in NXT, which means Imperium is finally complete. Or is it? Because then you could get Timothy Thatcher in Imperium. You could get Killian Dane in Imperium. There's so many more options for the story of Imperium, the faction that you can go with. And match-wise, you can do Walter versus Karrion Kross. You can do Walter versus Finn Balor. You can do Walter versus Kushida Part 2. You can do Walter versus Kyle O'Reilly. Walter versus Roddy Strong. Walter versus Adam Cole. Shoot, where else are we going with this? You could probably name some more too. There's so many options. And he has the NXT UK title. So now you can have NXT UK championship matches on NXT. Bring more notoriety to NXT UK. And Walter is one of the best in the world. So I'm so hyped for this. And again, a Walter chop makes you not want to live anymore. And he hit Ciampa so hard, bro.
Well, here's the thing. It's like when you think of people that have the best chops in the business, right? Obviously, Ric Flair starts it. He hit the chop, a great chop. And I'm not talking about like the slap that like the Big Show does. Like that's, to me, that's a little different.
Overhand.
Yeah, he like I don't know. Walter, I feel like he has to be the GOAT of chops because
he is, man.
Every time he hits one, it's like even
like a gunshot.
Yeah, like but even though again that match, by the way, I need to watch that match against Ilya Dragunov.
Dude.
But like in an arena with no one there, it obviously sounds like an earthquake just hit UK. But like even like a room full of people in a stadium, it's just so loud. I don't know how he does it. Again, he's a very meaty guy. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine. I just don't see why this guy can't be a big star. I was gonna say, what if he wins the UK? What if he has the UK title and also wins the NXT title? That would be kind of weird. But man, Walter's great. I love Walter.
You have to go and watch that Ilya Dragunov match. Not only because Walter beats the crap out of Ilya Dragunov, but it is a physical match. Like they are legit, like punching each other in the face. And like the thing about Walter's chops is, it's not fake. Like how people say, like, "Oh, wrestling is fake." Nah. That's not fake. There's no leg slaps involved. He is literally just putting his hand right across your chest, dude. And he does it to the back too. He hits you on the back with the chop. I swear, I think Ilya Dragunov's whole chest was like red, just from that match. And I'm like, this man is dying. Somebody go get some EMTs.
No, like, I'm excited for Walter in NXT. Listen, just because for me, obviously, I don't really watch NXT UK, even though I should have, and I'm going to be watching the matches that he's been in, like the one against Dragunov, but I'm just excited to see more of him. And again, like you said, all those dream matches, it seems like we'll possibly getting Ciampa and Walter. I mean, okay, I'm good with that. Don't get me wrong. So I'm just excited to see where this goes. And if they increase Imperium, like you said, with Killian Dane and Thatcher, I mean, Imperium's gonna be crazy.
Well, it looks like the Undisputed Era might be nearing its end, so you need another dominant faction on NXT. It could be happening. But I remember last year, Walter chopped Adam Cole so hard he did a backflip. That was hilarious.
I've seen. No one's ever done that with a chop. I mean, listen, you think of the best chops again, like I said before, like even looking back at like the early 2000s, like Chris Jericho always did those chops, Chris Benoit, again Ric Flair, a lot of other people, but like man, Walter, it's on a different level. So we move on. The in ring debut of NXT for LA Knight, aka Eli Drake. He faces August Gray again in his first match there. And he again pretty much just wipes the floor with him for most of the match until Bronson Reed comes out to distract him by taking his that blue jacket that LA Knight always wears to the ring, and he actually destroys it by putting it on, and Knight just gets very distracted. Almost allows Gray to roll him up for the win, but it doesn't happen. Knight makes a quick comeback, hits his finisher for an easy win there. So pretty much a squash match, but it seems like we're going to be getting an LA Knight Bronson Reed sort of feud here. So JP, I mean, quick thoughts on that squash match if you want to, but more so thoughts on a Bronson Reed LA Knight sort of feud going on.
I mean, cool. Back when he was Eli Drake, I never really was a fan of Eli Drake in the ring. I thought he was better at promos. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes with Bronson Reed, who I admit is one of the better big men in ring. I think the promo is going to be great, though. I'm not as huge of a fan of LA Knight in ring, you know.
Right. No, I see that. I mean, from that again, a quick match that he had with August Gray, but I can see why it's definitely some of that typical wrestling you expect from somebody. So I'm more interested to see what he does with better talent, I guess, or just not enhancement talent like a Bronson Reed. I'm excited to see where that match would go. I'm guessing that's going to be on the takeover card. Again, they're gonna have matches to fill there, so I wouldn't mind seeing it. To be honest, I want to see more of LA Knight in the ring, see how he is, and we'll see where that goes. So, quick little thing there before we get to the main event. Let's talk about what's going with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. So Adam Cole comes to the ring and he pretty much says that he wants to finish things right now with Kyle O'Reilly after last week of costing him the NXT title in that match against Finn Balor, and he doesn't come to the ring because he's actually more hurt. I think after that attack, Kyle O'Reilly tweeted like, "Oh, now I have to recover a couple more weeks now because of a neck injury or re-injuring the neck." And we see kind of Regal coming out saying that I banned Kyle O'Reilly from coming to the CWC. But then a video pops up of Kyle O'Reilly kind of giving a promo to Adam Cole saying, like, pretty much threatening him. But even Kyle O'Reilly says, like, this might sound like a threat, but it is. I mean, we were brothers, and now this has gotten personal, sort of thing. And Adam Cole goes up to William Regal and says, fine, I don't need to fight him here, but I'm gonna find him outside, and it's gonna be dirty or whatever. So we cut to it a little later, and then someone kind of gets William Regal and says, "There's been an accident dealing with Adam Cole." I'm like, "Oh my god, what happened?" So then we get a match, and then we come back to them, and he's coming out, and there's like cop cars, and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole are in handcuffs, being arrested. And Adam Cole is like, he's acting kind of like a Karen a little bit. He's just kind of like, he tried to run me off the road. Arrest him, while he's in like handcuffs too, or whatever. And then like William Regal's like, what's going on here and whatever. And then we see kind of Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole absolutely just scream at each other. And there's a lot of bleeps in this. They're really cursing at each other here. I love this so much. I cannot wait for this match. So again, we'll see where this kind of goes in the upcoming weeks, but that's kind of where we're staying forward, and we'll see if Adam Cole presses charges. I doubt they're gonna go that route, but again, I mean, thoughts on that, JP? And again, we talked about the possible stipulations with this match. It feels like unsanctioned seems like where they might go with this, but we've seen already a couple of unsanctioned matches in the past. I mean, we just saw one this past Wednesday, which we'll talk about in a bit on Dynamite, but I feel like it fits them. I know we said Hell in a Cell. If they did that, that would be great. I mean, what you thinking?
So I really love the segment. First off, it was pretty funny, but at the same time, it helps build up the story that they'll go to whatever lengths it takes to beat the crap out of each other. I still think it should be Hell in a Cell. Honestly, you make history with NXT. It's already making history being 2 nights. Make some more history. Put them inside a cell. I feel like that's the best place it can go. I feel like honestly, it's probably going to be an unsanctioned match. I think that's going to be the kind of cut and dry. It should be Hell in a Cell though. Like when I think about like great Hell in a Cell rivalries between one-on-one people, it's been a long like storyline where it feels like this is the only thing that can happen. Like, this is it. We have to lock you two guys in here so there are no shenanigans. There is no, y'all have to beat each other to death to win. So I feel like that'd be like the best option outside of an unsanctioned match. They decide to go away from it because they're having a lot of unsanctioned matches this year. But I really just want to see a Hell in a Cell match. I was originally on the First Blood wave, but I don't think they're going to do a First Blood match.
No.
But it's going to be unsanctioned, but I want it to be Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Hell in a Cell again. I kind of believe you. I mean, before Hell in a Cell really became like a pay per view thing, where like maybe sometimes you'd be forced to fight in Hell in a Cell because it was Hell in a Cell season. Um, the best blood feuds, the best feuds between these two guys that was always like the end game. That was like the final nail in the coffin for that. I think it deserves it. My question, will it even fit in the Capitol Wrestling Center? That's actually my question now because it seems like it's a very low ceiling in the Capitol Wrestling Center. So, I mean, they can still do it. I want them to. I mean, if they can do a fight pit, if they can do war games, if they could do that, I think they could do Hell in a Cell. But
maybe the fight pit could work. But I kind of want that to remain Timothy Thatcher's thing.
I agree.
Where only Timothy Thatcher should be fighting in those fights. But I think the Capitol Wrestling Center will be big enough. Depending on the card, this could overshadow a couple of the main events. But in terms of ratings, you're going to be on USA on a Wednesday, same time as AEW. I know that we shouldn't care about ratings. I don't care about ratings. But if I was putting myself in the booking like shoes, I put this match on night one. Because you want to bring people to your brand, and what's going to bring people to your brand? A Hell in a Cell match between two guys who have been in a feud for a long time. So I feel like it's going to be on night one because it's on like mainstream like TV. You don't have to download Peacock to get it. So, but I'm not sure.
I just feel like for me though, it's like for night one, I feel like you can't overshadow the main event of a women's match. I just feel it's a little like, I don't think so. You should, if you want the more people to check out the new Peacock sort of thing, you put a lot of those good matches on night two. And I feel like that's what they're probably gonna do. I doubt they'll have that on night one. Maybe they will. I don't know. But again, it seems like again both of these nights are going to be really stacked here. And I would say that of all the matches, I mean, I'm guessing this is going to be on Takeover. It's definitely my most anticipated match for Takeover. I just think these two. It's been setting up for several years now, and I just can't wait to see it. But we get to the main event. It's Finn Balor and Karrion Kross versus the NXT Tag Team Champions, Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan. It's a weird one because it's a weird one just because during this, Danny Burch actually gets hurt during this. And it comes to a moment where, because I think it was Karrion Kross doing like a double suplex on Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan. And it seemed like that Danny Burch really just sort of like landed in a very awkward position to the point where he wasn't even on the apron to be tagged in. They actually cut to him being checked out by a physician during it, but he really didn't make the rest of the match. He was just pretty much gone from it. So it seemed like he was actually pretty hurt. We didn't really see the ref throw the X. They really focused, like when he took that bump and the ref was checking on him, we really just saw Karrion Kross and Finn Balor just kind of look at each other and look at Danny Burch. So it really seemed like that he actually got hurt there. But most of the matches, so it was really weird. It seemed like it was very slow pace, like they were waiting for him to come back, but they were running out of time. So it was a very weird match during that ending there. But we get to the end here where Lorcan had the upper hand against Balor until Balor really hit an overhead kick. Lorcan prevented the tag, but Balor started building momentum anyway. He hit his sling bait on the floor, followed by a running drop kick that sent Lorcan into Scarlet. And as Balor was checking on her, Kross just lost his mind and started destroying Balor on the outside. And he throws him into the ring, but Lorcan was able to capitalize, score the pin to retain the titles for him and Burch. Didn't save him from Kross, so as Kross was also beating him up in Kross's stance tall. Thoughts on that weird main event and that ending?
It was cool. I guess don't like the makeshift tag team getting a tag title match. Like I kind of don't like that anymore, and I feel like I owe that to the Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks.
Right.
I owed it to that, but I don't know, man. It just makes the tag champs kind of look like cannon fodder, which is kind of what Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch have been since becoming champions. The match itself was good, but I don't know, man. I wish they like give them a proper like tag team feud, instead of just being the side pieces to Pat McAfee or Pete Dunne or a minor part in the Finn Balor Karrion Kross rivalry. Um, it was bound to explode anyway. They weren't gonna win the titles, so it was expected. I don't know if I'm any more or less hyped for that title match between Balor and Kross. I already was really excited about it, so it didn't really change anything for me.
Yeah, it was fine. Again, when Birch really got out of it, it really just destroyed the momentum of that match for sure. Um, and again, it doesn't make me less excited for it. It's fine. I'm interested to see where else they go with this. But it's funny how like MSK is not even in a feud with them. They're in a feud with Grizzly Young Veterans, and they still have a shot at the titles. They really haven't had that match yet. Again, Wesley's still recovering from a hand injury, but I feel like you could do Birch and Lorcan versus them, and I think that would be a compelling feud. I don't see why not. So we'll see what happens on NXT. Let's go over to Dynamite to end off this podcast episode. St. Patrick's Day Slam, and the opening match is Cody Rhodes versus Penta El Zero Miedo. And you know, not a bad match. It was good. It was good. And I remember JP saying, I'm interested to hear JP's thoughts on this because JP said the last week when this was set up, he said, if Cody doesn't make this, he specifically said Cody. He didn't say Penta because he knew Penta's gonna do his job. Look at JP. He's about to explode. He said, if Cody doesn't give a good match, I'm never forgiving Cody ever again. Not because he has a crap theme with Snoop Dogg. Not because of that. No, because he okay, here we go. I ripped him off even more because he'll have a bad match with Penta. But I'll let you take it here. What did you think of this match? Cody did get the win at the end here. He did like a roll up sunset flip for the win, and afterwards, well, I'll just say this real quick. Afterwards, Penta was attacking Cody until Arn Anderson, Dustin Rhodes, and the Gun Club were there, and QT Marshall came late because they're having a little thing going on. Whatever. Thoughts on the match, JP?
Oh man, I think I overhyped this match for myself. I think I put too high of expectations on this because it was Penta. Penta's one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. The match was fine. It was a Cody Rhodes match, which isn't bad. It's not phenomenal. It is good. It's a good match. I can't say I wasn't a little like, oh man, when Penta lost, but I guess getting that heel heat back with attacking him after. But again, I'm a little curious to see what their plans are for Penta because the Death Triangle is getting a tag title match between the Young Bucks. But what's Penta going to be doing? Is this feud going to continue? It might continue. I wouldn't be mad if it did. But I'm not excited about a QT Marshall and Nightmare Family feud. I'm just not. There's nothing you're going to do to make me interested in seeing a QT Marshall match or a QT Marshall feud. I'm sorry. There's no disrespect to QT Marshall himself or any of the Nightmare family. I am just not interested. Like QT Marshall came out late and I'm like, oh, okay. That's it. All right, fine. Like they're getting mad at this dude. What was QT Marshall gonna do against Penta? Penta was going to snap his arm so much, it would have turned his arm like a banana split. He likes apples. He turned his arm to a banana split. He split his arm in half. Well, what was QT Marshall going to do? But I'm not excited about a QT Marshall feud. The match itself, like I said, it was good. It was a Cody match. It's not a bad thing, I don't think.
I don't think. It was okay. It was a good match. Fine. I think just like you, maybe I was overhyping this a little bit more. it was kind of try hard at the end because they were kind of exchanging a little bit of pinfalls and they're kind of making it try to seem exciting, but I'm like, oh, they kicked out. Oh, okay. Is that over? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'm excited to see the most interesting wrestler in the world, QT Marshall, and see where he goes from this. That's for damn sure. I wonder where he goes. I no, but seriously, I couldn't give any less of a FUCK. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. I just really don't. Fine match. It wasn't terrible. You're not really gonna get a terrible match with these two. Just a little. I don't know. It was fine.
It was a Cody
Um,
match. It,
it was a Cody match, and I guess the worst part was hearing that Cody Rhodes theme. But I guess that's it. And the one thing I will say is that on Fastlane yesterday, I was again I you said like weekly reminder that the Sasha Banks theme is not that bad, and of course I say that it is. Um, and there's one guy that commented saying it's bad, but it's not as bad as the Cody Rhodes one. And I'll be honest, I have to disagree. I think the Banks one is worse because even I'll use your thing with Cody Rhodes because even when the rap part comes on, you can't even hear it when you're watching on television the Cody Rhodes thing. But with Sasha Banks, you could clearly hear it, and it's not good. It's lazy. So
they're not bad. They're not bad. I don't see what the big problem is. Neither of them are bad. It's just
they are though.
It's not. It's not
It
though.
is.
I'm not gonna go out my way and say, yeah, I'm listening to that Sasha Banks or Cody Rhodes.
You did though to piss me off. You literally posted you listening to it.
Yes, I did to piss you off. That was the only reason I went out of my way to do that. But if it comes on, I'm not gonna skip it.
I would, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, I'd skip it. No. So I just don't know. I think it's just because, especially with Sasha's theme song at the beginning, it was just so great, and then they, I guess put it in there. And I guess if they're turning her back heel, if they are, I don't think they are, but if they are, then whatever. But with Cody, I just don't even hear it. It just, I don't know. Whatever. We move on. Okay. We move on, JP. Okay. We move on. Jade Cargill in action. She's facing Danny Jordan. Jade Cargill just wipes the floor with her. Obviously in the squash match again, Jade Cargill, she's great. Next big thing, she's gonna be a huge star in AEW, and she just proves it here. She's great. And after the match, after she destroyed her, she went to the outside and actually Red Velvet is still in like the little audience area for the wrestlers. And they kind of have a little bit of a spat and people have to separate them. So it seems like we're going to be getting a continuation of that, which I mean, we'll see where that goes. Obviously that they had that Shaq match with, him and Cody, so we'll see where it goes. So it's fine. So we move on and we get MGF introducing his new faction called The Pinnacle with Tully Blanchard and FTR and Sean Spears and Wardlow. And Sean Spears pretty much says, I was a part of the greatest faction of all time. Saying he spent his career with the greatest, wrestlers ever. And he's saying that now I'm going to end it that way by being with these group of guys here. And then MJF gets the mic and he just insults Chris Jericho. He insults him on his weight too. That was kind of funny. His hairline, his pecs. But then he gets into a little bit of a great promo where he was saying like, Chris, I had you believing that you were taking me under your wing, but what you didn't know is that I was plucking feather by feather. And when he said that line, I'm like, okay,
that's a bar.
That's good stuff. And he just kind of went into that and he was bragging about the fact that, he's been on television for over a year and saying that he's the future of this company. I have 25 years left in the tank. When my career is all said and done, he says Chris Jericho is not going to be the GOAT. That spot's reserved for me. Okay. Max, say your stuff. And then he obviously kind of, before saying that the group is the pinnacle, he's kind of saying that we're the pinnacle of wrestling, the pinnacle of faction, stuff like that. Before, claiming that he's better than Jericho and he knows it. And at the end, that's what he says, like, I'm better than him and he knows it. So good stuff there. Again, it's I'm excited for this new faction. I'm excited to see where this goes, and especially their kind of little feud with the Inner Circle. Later in the night, they actually took over the Inner Circle locker room. So we'll see where that goes. JP, quick thoughts on this whole promo and this new faction.
So It was a very cliche kind of heel, introducing new heel faction promo. I didn't mind it. Again, MJF, one of the best on the mic in wrestling right now. The lines he said, like he said, the plucking the feathers out from under you, that was a cold bar. I like that one. You're gonna have to do a lot more to make me care about Shawn Spears, though. You have to
Yeah, I
do a
agree.
lot more. Like I posted on Twitter, but Shawn Spears is the Mario Chalmers of this group. You know, the big three. You got your LeBron, you got Wade, you got Chris Bosh. Shawn Spears is Mario Chalmers. Don't nobody care about Mario Chalmers, dog. You have to make me do a lot. You have to do a lot to make me care about this dude. And I'm not saying like as disrespect to Shawn Spears. I think Shawn Spears is a fine wrestler. I just there's been no motive to care about him. And now he's playing bass in this 4-man group, and I still really don't care about him. So you have to do a lot more, and that's gonna come with the coming weeks, which I assume. But yeah, man, it was a very basic introduce heel faction promo. But yeah, you're gonna do a lot more to make me care about Shawn Spears, man, because it ain't doing it right now.
Yeah, I would say out of all the people in that this new faction, he's the least interesting. I would definitely say obviously FTR is great. They're one of the best tag teams in the world. You got Wardlow. I always like Wardlow. So I mean, and obviously MGF, he got totally there. So I mean, if Sean Spears hits someone with a chair once in a while, whatever. I guess that's good enough for me. But it's fine. I'm excited to see where this goes, especially against the inner circle. So we move on to a 10-man tag team match. Jurassic Express and Bear Country taking on Matt Hardy, Private Party, The Butcher, and The Blade. Um, I mean, I gotta be honest. I think just for me, again, not a bad match. We saw some spots here. I'm excited to see more of Bear Country, by the way, in the coming in the future for AEW. But like, man, every time there's like this sort of 8-10 man tag team matches in AEW, I'm just like, man, they really love these 10-man tag team matches. Um, it was fine, nothing really sort of stay there. But it came to a moment at the end where it was Private Party sort of isolating Marco's stunts. He hits Gin and Juice, and of course Hardy's like, "Tag me in, tag me in." Delivers a twist of fate for the win, and the bad guys win. The bad guys win there. Um, so yeah, if it's okay with you, I'm just gonna move on. Do you have anything to talk
It
about
was
this?
fine. It was fine. I think we need more Bear Country.
Yeah,
That's really what I got from this match. We need more Bear Country on AEW. They offer such a great and different dynamic from any other tag team, just in the fact that they're the biggest tag team that you have. So, give me more Bear Country.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And for the 20,000th time, Tony Schiavone is going to interview Sting. Um, I hate when they say that, by the way. We'll hear from Sting. How many times are we going to hear from Sting? We know he's going to get interrupted. And what do you think he does? It's an interesting interruption, though. So obviously, Sting comes out along with Darby Allin, and um, Allin took exception to his lack of title defenses. I think he said, like, I've only defended the TNC title 3 times. And the crowd was cheering. And then Darby Allin was like, no, that's pathetic. It's terrible. And then he issued an open challenge. He says, I'm going to issue an open challenge to any member of the Dark Order in tribute to the greatest TNT champion of all time. The crowd chants Brody. Lance Archer takes exception, threatens to put Allen in one of those body bags he loves so much, and with Jake the Snake, and it seems like they're kind of becoming this Healy sort of thing. And then Team Taz interrupts. But before Taz could speak, Brian Cage actually acknowledges respect for Sting, and even said that said that Ricky Starks was wrong. With or without his bat, Sting is still the icon. And the whole faction of Team Taz is just looking at him like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Um, and of course, I think Tony Schiavone even goes up to Sting and says, like, sorry about that, and Sting just leaves. We don't even hear from Sting. We don't hear from Sting. And then but obviously later in the night, we see the Dark Order kind of declaring who's going to challenge Darby Allin, and obviously they say that Johnny Hungies is going to. So it's going to be John Silver, and Darby Allin for the TNT title next week. Thoughts on that, JP?
Um, so one of my first thoughts about it is Lance Archer is going to put Sting in a body bag. That is, I mean, Sting took one powerbomb bump from Brian Cage and was like, oh yeah, throw me in there with the Wolves. And Lance Archer's like, all right, bet. I'm going to turn your spine into, he's going to Thanos snap his spine and straight into dust. I am I'm excited but not excited at the same time because I don't want to see Sting get seriously injured.
It's
Like I
always
don't
the
know how I'm supposed to feel in this situation.
it's always with you. Every time Sting gets into some sort of trouble, he just says, I'm just scared." You're always scared
Because
for Sting.
he picks up. It's like when your like younger brother goes and picks a fight with Brock Lesnar. I'm scared, man.
Yeah.
I got your back, but I'm scared, dog. Sting is 61. Again, he had a fine showing in the cinematic match in the street fight. He didn't have to take a lot of bumps in that. You can't hide from Lance Archer, dog. You can't do another cinematic match with Lance Archer, especially one-on-one, because you can't hide. Um, I think the stuff with Team Taz is really interesting because I didn't think Team Taz would be like breaking up this quickly, you know, or even showing signs of dissension. I do think if there's anybody who least benefits from being in Team Taz, it would be Brian Cage because he can make a name like for himself, considering that he is easily one of the most jacked dudes I've ever seen walk planet Earth. So I'm interested to see where it goes with Team Taz. I don't think they break them up so soon, or at least I don't hope they break them up so soon.
Right. Um, it's fine. Again, I think Brian Cage is easily the one you can make a name out of, like you just said, and I guess it wasn't that surprising to see that happen. And maybe he'll finally. I just feel like Brian Cage has been kind of a little weird in AEW. He just, even though he's like this big guy, he just always loses, So, and for me, Team Taz as a whole, it's been fine. Has been great, and we'll see how they kind of deal without Brian Cage if that is where they're going with it. So, but we move on. We also hear from Christian, finally, and he pretty much talked about how even though he's looking at Kenny Omega, he's looking at AEW World Championship. He even acknowledges that he needs to win some matches before kind of getting his shot at it. Um, Again, good to see about that, and again, excited for Christian and Kenny Omega. That should be a banger in the making. Uh, Next match is Eddie Kingston and John Moxley versus the Good Brothers. Not a bad match between these two. But we get to the point where the heels wipe out at the end, where the heels wipe out both Moxley and Kingston, and then on the floor, Gallows sends Kingston to the guardrail while Moxley rolls up Anderson in the ring for the win. A quick, easy win there. But after the match, the Good Brothers kind of beat down Moxley until Moxley stretches his way to the ring, a chair in hand. Kingston re-enters the ring, took a wild sling, but then the heel stomp on the leg of Kingston on a steel chair. Uh, in an attempt to do the same to Moxley's neck. And again, at this time, Kenny Omega comes out. He comes out like strung to the ring, snapping. It's a meme now that he does. And then, but before they could do the same with Moxley's neck, the Young Bucks actually come out and say we shouldn't do this, whatever. And then the Bucks and then Omega and the Good Brothers are like holding up the too sweet sign, like, come on, do it. They're like forcing him to do it, and the Young Bucks wouldn't do it. They leave. And then I think Omega goes into the face of Matt Jackson, and he tells him, like, because you're lined up with Don Callis, and that means, like, we're not good by that, so they just leave. But Moxley recovers, and he wildly swings at a chair, even though three people cannot take Moxley with a chair or whatever. They just leave. And then that's it. So Kingston gets back into the ring, and that's what it is. JP, thoughts of the match, thoughts on that after effect with the Young Bucks and sort of thing.
The match was cool. Again, I don't hate the Good Brothers. I don't love the Good Brothers. They're kind of just meh for me. Although this was a good match. This was a good match. I really like the stuff after the match more than the match itself, though. Still playing out the friendship between Eddie Kingston and John Moxley, with Eddie Kingston asking the refs, because he couldn't really walk. He was asking the refs to put him in the ring with Mox so he can stand there with him and help him fight off Kenny and the Good Brothers. The stuff between Kenny and the Bucks was amazing because you can tell that feud is they're eventually going to blow up, and we're going to get a Young Bucks versus Good Brothers. Now that they don't have the Impact tag titles, we're probably going to get that on AEW television or a pay-per-view sometime soon. I'm really liking the story more than like the actual matches with the Bucks and the Good Brothers and Kenny. I'm liking more the story than the actual matches, but the dynamic between Eddie Kingston and John Moxley is really cool to see.
Yeah, I really am enjoying that part of it. And I just can't even make it going after Moxley. Like, are they really still interested in that? I feel like honestly after that exploding barbed wire deathmatch revolution, I thought they would kind of take a break from Moxley and Omega, but it seems like maybe we're going that route, or Christian will be there again. We're a couple months away from Double or Nothing, so we'll see. But we move on to Ray Phoenix versus Angelico. And obviously Ray Phoenix is there with Pac. Pretty quick match. They used to have a nice little back and forth, but it pretty much ends with Phoenix defeating him for the win there. Obviously setting up more wins for their eventual tag team championship matchup with the Young Bucks. So, quick thoughts on this, JP?
It was fine. Didn't do, wasn't terrible, wasn't amazing. Ray Phoenix still defies gravity, and they pick up a win to get into the title match. So it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. But we get to the main event now. Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, lights out, unsanctioned matchup. This is the one match I was very excited to see when we kind of like catching up on wrestling this weekend. And I will say that this is definitely one of my favorite matches of the year so far. Just awesome, awesome stuff here with Rosa and Britt Baker. Um, but again, and this is also the first time that two women have main evented a Dynamite, so huge deal there. But these two just put it all on the line in this match. Um, Rebel attacks before the opening bell, catching Rosa with a cheap shot with a crutch before Baker leveling her on the entrance ramp for an early near fall. Rosa recovers, throwing a chair right at Baker's face. I love those chair shots. I've said it before. Before sending the Good Doctor over the guardrail into the stands, where she just kept hitting on Britt Baker. Rosa sat Baker on a chair, tried for a flipping senton, but she moves out of the way. Um, and she just crashed and burns on the outside there. Um, Baker pretty much like curb stomps Thunder Rosa's head into some plating, busting her wide open. This is where the Crimson Mask comes into play for Thunder Rosa, but back from a little bit of a picture break there. Baker delivers a superplex from the top rope onto a pile of chairs in the ring,
Ooh.
which is a great spot there. Um, I think Rebel got a ladder there, but Rosa sent her face first into the ladder. And then a corner attack by Rosa sends ladder into Baker's face, busting her wide open. Baker struggles to the ropes where Thunder Rosa and her meet there. She gets the doctor into a fireman's carry and tries to do a Death Valley driver, but she kind of slips a little bit, only slightly delivering the move into a ladder. Still brutal, but it seemed like she didn't get all of that. Um, but Baker, she's like covered in blood.
Oh,
Crimson Mask, like I said before.
like,
She
oh,
dropped Rosa with a DDT onto a chair, a 2 count. Baker is smiling through a Crimson Mask. Again, if you want that t-shirt, AEWshop.com or shop AEW.com. Obviously, they need to make that a shirt. She puts on the gloves. She's about to put the lockjaw on Thunder Rosa. But Rebel also gets a bag of thumbtacks. When thumbtacks get into a match, the match is a banger. By the way, thumbtacks are usually kind of the signal for that. She gets a bag of thumbtacks, and Baker empties him right into the center of the ring. Rosa blasts Rebel with a crutch, and then drop kicked her through the table that was set up at ringside. Rosa delivers a power bomb to Baker, driving her right into the thumbtacks. Baker
oh.
kicks out at 2, but Baker applies the lockjaw. Rosa rolls back into the thumbtacks, breaking the hold. And then the action spilled to the ring apron. Rosa delivers a fire thunder driver through a table for the win. And my God,
Oh my
brutal stuff with these two. Again, one of my favorite matches of the year. These two put on a show for the first ever women's main event. JP, thoughts of the match?
This was everything I wanted to be and more. It was physical, it was intense, it was violent, it told the story. I think the right person still won. It's already one of my top 5 matches of the year. It's my favorite women's match of the year. It was awesome. That's really the power bomb into the thumbtacks, and then using the thumbtacks to break up the lockjaw was such a creative way to get out of that without tapping or passing out. The fire thunder driver through the table. I gasped. Like I was like, oh no. They completely put themselves through it all. Like tables, they had ladders, chairs, thumbtacks, crutches, tables, ramps, just round of applause all around because it was awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, for me, I definitely one of my personal favorite matches of the year. I'm actually going to pull my list real quick just to kind of look and um, I would say so far there's only one women's match in the top 10 so far for me. There's about to be two now because I'm gonna put them in there. I don't know, but I feel like this past weekend again with Fastlane, it's gonna be rolled up a bit there, which kind of I feel like Drew and Sheamus are gonna be in that list, and then maybe Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. But I think Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa they delivered an amazing main event for AEW Dynamite. But again, that's it. This is pretty much what we got playing. We talked about Fastlane. We talked about the Wednesday shows, including Dynamite, NXT. That's gonna do it for us. We got Raw tonight. Just a couple things to kind of preview. We're gonna see the debut, Rhea Ripley. They need her so much on Raw. I'm excited to see what her impact is. What do you think, JP? How excited are you for Rhea Ripley to be on Raw?
I'm excited because they should immediately shoot her to the front of the title picture because they need it. I can't think of any more challengers for that women's title outside of Charlotte for Asuka, and they need her. They need her talent, her star power on the main roster badly. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and there's so far with the preview, there's not really anything planned so far from WWE. In fact, but again, we're going to see some fallout here. Again, we saw what happened with Randy Orton when it dealt with the Fiend and Alexa Bliss. We'll see more of that. We'll see how they're going to set up the championship match at WrestleMania between Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. We'll still see if there's anything going to be changed there. We'll still do the same. Any appearances, reappearances. I guess we'll see how Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman kind of go through this, preparing for their match, which, yeah, we'll see. But again, I'm very excited for Rhea Ripley. Again, like you said, just shoot her right in the main title picture, literally. Her and Asuka, they'll perform some magic. We'll see what happens with Charlotte Flair, which will be interesting. But that's gonna do it for us at Yell and Sell. So, again, follow us on Twitter at Yell_Sell. You can find me at Zach Weinberg on Twitter, Zach with an HWEINBERGER. Doing some freelance work for the Jewish Forward. Again, some wrestling stuff that could be in the possible future. JP made a really cool analogy last week that it could be the pinnacle of my writing. Interesting. Keep on the lookout for that as that kind of gets into fruition, hopefully. Also write for at UPress Online on Twitter, upressonline.com. Just wrote a review, my newsletter review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Check it out. You'll find it on my profile. It's good to write that. You'll see the extended version or the Weinberger cut release #release of Weinberger cut later in the month. You'll see the full version. Obviously for the newsletter, we had to shorten it down a little bit, but it's still give it a read, support. And yeah, also again, speaking of the Snyder Cut, I do another podcast with Jacob Brown at the Nerd Pod 2 on Twitter. Our next episode, we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Going to be talking about the fallout there. Are they going to continue it? Seems like they're not. We'll talk about it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier also came out, so find me there. You can find JP on Twitter at Acosta32_JP. JP, where else can they find you?
You can find me at Big Cat Country on SB Nation. I do a lot of work for the Jaguars, writing about the NFL draft. I actually do have some pretty exciting stuff coming up just for SB Nation in general regarding the NFL draft that I'm hoping I can get off the ground, but just keep on the lookout for that stuff. I'm really excited for it. I also write at the University Press at UPress Online. I'm the business manager. Got some pretty cool stories coming up regarding college sports, things that are going on. So yeah, just follow along, see where I'm going.
Awesome. Again, gonna do it for us. We have another week of wrestling. We got WrestleMania coming up soon, so we'll be here for it. We want to do other episodes as well. Again, shoot us on Twitter, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, support us on all podcasting streaming platforms. Give us suggestions. What do you want to see from us? We'll do anything. We want to do what's best. Again, we're a small channel. Go and support us if you love professional wrestling like we do. That's gonna do it for us. Have a good day.